I have Tara Geraghty here with me, and she's another speaker for the Build Your Influence Ecosystem Summit. She is a resilience expert, certified REBT mindset and confidence life coach who empowers people to reclaim their strength and transform adversity into opportunity. As a survivor of domestic violence, with over 27 years of leadership experience, she has inspired thousands through her TEDx talk, best-selling book, Making Cancer Fun, and her global community, Hey Girl, You Can, guiding individuals and organizations to build confidence, community, and lasting success. So welcome, Tara. Thank
Yeah,
you for joining
thank
me
you.
here. So I wanted to ask you, how did you go about building your influence ecosystem, getting on a TEDx stage, being able to share your story? What was that journey like?
Yeah, and so I really believe strongly that you want to build your community before you need it. I
Mm,
think sometimes people think, well, when I'm ready to write a book, when I'm ready to do speaking, when I'm ready to launch my business, then I'll start networking, then I'll start building my community. And then you've really missed all of these incredible connections that you could have beforehand. So I started my first business at 20. I moved 7 years in the I moved 7 times in the first 8 years across 3 states. And just to make me feel like a dinosaur, this was before social media. This was before like the internet, right? So when you moved, it was really like, okay, I got to kind of start over. And so I had to really, unfortunately, not by choice, but I had to really learn how to market myself. I had to really learn how to find people. And I was so intimidated to talk to strangers that that wasn't the way it was going to work. And so I started initially building my influence by finding other business owners that I could collaborate with
mhm,
and people that we could kind of cross promote. And that became a little bit more of a natural way for me to build my influence.
mm,
And then from that, and I was living in Colorado at the time, I got invited to help host networking events. And so it was very interesting because I would see people who would come in and how they would experience networking. I remember the first
mhm.
traditional networking event I went to. I sat at this table. Oh my gosh, Michelle. These two guys sat down and they are everything that is wrong when people say networking. Okay, they literally sat down and I kid you not, they threw a business card across the table to me. I had never been to like a traditional networking event, right? And I was just like, what is going on? And they were like very aggressive, very like, what do you do? And can you, and just trying to figure out, could I be a client? And
Right.
I was so off put by the whole thing. And this other woman sat down next to me and I was literally like, I'm never networking again. I hate this. Like it felt like like it was aggressive. It didn't feel authentic. It felt like I had a dollar sign on me. It was all of the things that people don't like, right?
Right.
And she and I ended up talking, and quite openly, it was the only person that I met at the networking event, this one other woman. Let
Mm,
me tell you, this one other woman has gone on to change my life, literally changed my life. She was the first person on my podcast. I have worked with her over the years. I have so many stories. She works with people clearing energy blocks, limiting beliefs, and it was the one connection. And so I learned so much from that event. Number one, I learned all the things not to do. And but I also learned that you only need one good connection.
Right.
One good connection can change your life. And so I think you start building your influence one connection at a time. One person at a time that you get that gets to know you, and you invest in that relationship, not in the outcome.
Mhm,
You invest in that, it's not, I really strongly believe in, and we talk a lot about this in our Hey Girl You Can networking events. It's
mhm,
not showing up at an event and can I do business with Michelle?
mhm,
It's 500 people. I know 500 people. So just here with the two of us, that's 1,000 connections,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so can I build a relationship with somebody where they trust me, where I treat people with integrity, where I,
Mhm.
make sure that I'm not being pushy, I'm not being aggressive, I'm coming with a servant heart. So that the people who know me, when they know someone who needs my services, they're going to think of me.
Right.
Right. And that starts one relationship at a time. And it's just how you like to build relationships. Are you somebody who likes one-on-one? There's events now that you can do online. And sometimes it's just it's stepping out of who you know. Like, I think it's such a great time right now to build your influence because you can do it so many ways. Like, I
Mm,
just moved into a new town and I started joining meetup groups.
yeah.
And you could just join a green up group for people who like to knit or like to hike or like to
Right.
kayak. Like they don't even have to be business related. You just build those relationships. And those relationships actually are what got me my TEDx talk.
Oh, wow.
So I will tell you, I applied for my first TEDx. I got completely rejected. Didn't even get a call back. They didn't even want to know who I was, whatever.
Okay.
I applied the second time, but this time I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to do this better, right? So on Facebook, I had a friend and I saw that she was hosting a TEDx. So this is again, your community, your connections. And she was a woman that I knew from some other random thing. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, I know you did this TEDx. I'm thinking about applying for one. Do you mind if I ask you some questions?
Right.
And we chat. And she kind of gave me a little insight into what they look for. And she
Mhm.
said, oh, I wish I had known you were applying. I would have had you do ours. So that's okay. And things always work out the way they're supposed to because I thought, well, what a missed opportunity. That was what I thought. But listen, so then she goes, well, I know this girl who might be a good person for you to talk to. She helps coach speakers. Why don't you talk to her? I'll introduce you to her. So she introduces me to the next one. The next woman I talk and I get more information.
Right.
And then when we're done talking, she said, well, I know this other woman and she coaches people. She charges a lot of money. I don't know if she'd be willing to talk to you for free. She's like,
Mhm.
but I'll at least do an intro for you.
Mhm.
I said, okay. And so she did an intro. And the woman said, yeah, I'll talk to you. If you were referred by this person who was, I'll talk. So she got on the phone with me and she chatted and told me, gave me all this info on how to apply, what to do, how to position myself, right? Fast forward, I apply. They have me come in. They do a callback for a 10X. I have to come in. I do this callback. They are down to the last two spots. There's last two people. It was me and one other person, and there was only one spot. So it was between the two of us for this one last spot. And that last woman I talked to, she was connected. And she said, oh, I've talked to that girl, Tara. She went to bat for me. She was like, you need to
Wow.
put her on the stage. She is definitely going to be one of your best ones. They were like, we don't know. We have her. We have this other girl. She said, no, no, no,
Right.
you want her. So I got chosen. But here's what's wild. Had I gotten that first TEDx one, it was a very small TEDx that wasn't very well known. And
Mm.
I felt like it was such a missed opportunity. But the one I got ended up being the largest one on the Eastern Seaboard. It was like
Wow.
hundreds and hundreds of times bigger.
Yeah.
And when at the end they have them vote, and mine was a top 5 at that conference. So then I got to be able to say I was a top 5 TEDx, right? But because that woman went to bat for me, that's where sometimes you don't even know where your connection is going to take you.
Right.
You have
Absolutely.
no idea where that one person is going to reach out to that one person who's going to connect you to the next person. And it's also why don't ever burn your bridges. Like,
Exactly.
you don't know who's, because imagine if you have that person who doesn't like you and they're on that board and you're like, why didn't I get chosen? Well, maybe you did somebody dirty and they didn't forget you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this
Yeah.
is where having integrity is like priceless in your life, in your business, in your community.
Yeah, and I think what
Yeah.
you're sharing is like the value of staying open to what a relationship can provide for you. You just never know. Like maybe they could be a client, but there's so many other potential avenues, partnerships, referrals, advice, so many things. So yeah, going into a conversation being so one-dimensional is never going to serve anyone. And I think it's the people
Yeah.
who notice those things at the traditional networking groups that are actually here to like change the way that we network
You have to
on.
remember, a connection doesn't happen one time. I see this all the
Right.
time with people. They go to an event and they think, well, I showed up one time and I didn't get any business. It wasn't worth it. That's not how it works. People need to
Right.
see you over and over. And I think more so than 20 years ago. I started my first business 27 years ago. And I would say more so now because there is so much, it's not a word, but this is the word that's coming to mind, fakery on the internet and like so much smoke and mirrors. And
Right.
people know that, right? Like people know that. And so it really, I think, takes longer for people to build trust with people, and
Hmm.
we build trust with people that we see over and over again. So you build your circle and your influence and your ecosystem by consistently showing up, by
Hmm.
being available. I also think that you go in with, how can I help this other person? So it's not, I did something for Michelle and I did some good, juju over here, and
Right.
now I expect Michelle to give me good juju back. Sometimes it's, I did something over here, I
Right.
helped somebody, and the universe goes, Tara, I got your back. And out of left field, you
Right.
get something that shows up in your lap that wasn't from Michelle. It was
Yes,
from the energy that you put out that I'm willing to show up and
exactly.
give. And I expect that if I show up as the best version of myself and I show up with a servant heart and I'm here to serve other people, if the universe is going to have my back on that,
Mhm.
right? Like there's a trust factor in growing your circle and growing your ecosystem and trusting that you will just be connected, that everybody that you need to meet, all of the right connections, all of the right resources will show up in your life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And having that
Yeah.
firm belief.
Yeah, I think you're tapping into, a spiritual principle of giving and receiving. But how many times a week do you spend time like going out of your way to actually do something for someone else? Like this, should be, part of our practice. Is thinking about, oh, how can I share something with someone else or, recommend something.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be, a culture that we can all collectively create together.
As I say, one of the things we talk about in Hey Girl You Can is giving digital love. Digital love is
Hmm.
free.
Yes.
Right. And so you go to an event and let's say there's, 5 or 6 women there, right? And can we just all go to each other's Instagram and find a post that somebody did that
Right.
you found inspirational and that you think other people would like and just share it?
Mhm.
Share it on your stories. Like 10 of her photos, make 3 comments. This literally costs us nothing, but it's like digital currency. We're investing in somebody else. And I always think, because wouldn't you love someone to do that for you?
Of course. Yeah.
And so it's such an easy way that you can support another person
Mhm.
that literally doesn't cost you anything. What does it take you? Like no time, but it just shows that I'm willing to support you.
Amazing. Yeah, such a good point. I do want to ask though, along your journey, have you felt like you've ever like invested maybe in the wrong people? Is there like some discernment that goes into
I always say my first 2 or 3 years in business, and this is not to sound judgmental, even though it's going to come out this way, I attracted all the crazies.
it?
Like my worst clients, my worst team members, they found me. They found me and they drained me.
Yeah.
I mean, exhausted. I remember 2 times, actually, 2 specific times where I literally was in tears dealing with clients. I didn't have the confidence, and I was approaching my business from such a place of desperation that I needed every client, that
Mhm.
I needed every team member, that I came from a place of need, of lack, of there wasn't enough. I was just trying to like grab anything that I could,
Right.
that then I attracted in lower quality people who didn't respect me. They didn't respect my expertise. They didn't respect my time. And it's been interesting. I always say, as I've evolved now, many, many years, still have that one business, but it's been, years, decades later. I don't really ever have that. I literally do not have any
Mhm.
crazy people. I do not have any crazy, and you can't say, okay, where did that happen? And I think 2 things changed. One is that I started to have more confidence in myself,
Mhm.
and I didn't have that lack feeling that I feel like, you want to work with me, great. You don't, that's fine. Somebody else
Yeah.
does. Like I know what I bring to the table. So this just recently happened to me with Hey Girl You Can, that I'm trying to build. I'm nurturing it. It's getting off the ground. It's in those inner stages. And I had somebody reach out to me. She found me through my website and we ended up on a phone call, and I didn't have a good vibe.
Mhm.
She was like, well, why don't you change this? And can you do this? And why don't you make it this way? And why don't you do this? And I was like, because this is how I run this is what I do. This is how
Right.
I've set it up. And it was very interesting because, Michelle, I hung up. I didn't feel defensive. I didn't feel like I had to defend why I was doing what I was doing
Mhm.
or the way that I was doing it. And I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, what if that person doesn't join? I actually felt like, I don't think this is a right alignment. I hope she doesn't join. And so
Mhm.
sometimes when you say discernment, I think that discernment comes with confidence. It comes from believing that there is enough, that you don't need everybody, that
Right.
sometimes that no is God's protection. He is protecting you from that person who's going to literally drive you crazy. Like when you wonder, why didn't I get that client, or why did that person say no to me, or why didn't I get that
Mhm.
whatever? It's because there's something better for you, or because that person would have been a headache. You know, not everybody is meant to do business with you, and not everybody is going to like you, and not everybody is going to be your vibe. And you're better off finding those people now,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So maybe what also occurred for you is that you got stronger in understanding what was in alignment for you and defining that more clearly so that when you put that signal out, okay, I want a new team member or client, it's like they have to have certain values or they have to
Yeah.
operate in a certain way Or
I did a class years ago where one of our mentors had us do this, and I think it's a very valuable lesson. She said, sit down and write down the 10 qualities that you want in your ideal client. Maybe you're looking for collaborations. What are the 10 qualities that collaboration would bring? Maybe you want to be a speaker. I know that's what my session is with you about is like building your speaking and stuff. What are the 10 ideal places that you want to speak? What kind of people do they attract? What's the gift? Is it close? Is it far? Is it the venue? Like what really fits? Because then you kind of send that out into the universe. You're activating your reticular activator in your brain to go seek this out. It's like a beacon, right? Like a lighthouse.
yeah,
Like go seek out, this is what I want. A lot of times we're not even really clear what we want. And
yes,
then the universe is like, well, I want to give it to you. God's like, I'm here to give it to you, but you don't even know what you want, right?
exactly. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
just willing to take anything.
right.
So I think that's a great analogy of like the clearer you are on what you're looking for, the easier it is to find it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a wonderful segue into your session. So how to position yourself as a speaker and land more gigs. I mean, we did talk about more so on the client side, but it, again, it applies to anything, right? So
Absolutely.
you're trying to find the right stages. How would you go about it? How is it, in
Yeah.
resonance with you? Because we don't want to be out there on every single stage either. That's just
Yeah.
right.
I
So,
learned that the hard way, let me tell you. So, and I'll just talk about with podcasting because that's a speaking stage in
right.
essence, right? So, when I wrote my book is Making Cancer Fun. It's a parent's guide. It's for parents of children going through cancer. And so I thought, well, I got to get it out there. And so I started pitching to these podcasts. And I was getting booked everywhere because I talk about mindset and resiliency and bounce back, which could apply to a lot of people, which was fabulous. I
Mhm.
didn't have a lead magnet. I didn't have a list. I wasn't collecting emails for anything because I just wanted to sell my book.
Mhm.
Well, this is a very specific book for a very specific person.
Mhm.
And then I remember after like doing all of this media, and I'm thinking, this is great. I'm getting all this media attention. I'm building up all these things. And then I got booked for the Child Life on Call podcast, which is a very specific podcast for parents who have children who are medically ill. And all of a sudden I had all these book sales. And
Right.
you would think it wouldn't take this long for me to figure this out. I realized like how dumb I was, right? I was like, oh, I teach this in my other business. You can't catch a salmon in a trout pond. You have to go fish in the right pond, right?
Exactly. Right.
Why am I fishing in trout ponds when I got salmon that I need to sell, right? Like, what is going on? And it made me realize I had wasted my time. Not wasted, but I had wasted my time speaking on stages that were not going to find me my ideal clients,
Mhm. Right.
right? So if you want to be a speaker, you have to think about who do I want to speak to? Who are the people that I'm really serving? And am I pitching those very specific places?
Mhm.
And then how do I position myself? And so I was always pitching myself as a speaker. We did a summit for Hey Girl, You Can. And I got to sit on the other side and I
Mhm.
got all of these speakers applications. I mean, it took hours and hours and hours to go through them. But boy, did I learn a lot. And that's what I'm going to teach with you guys. That's what I'm going to share with you. You're going to get that in the VIP class. That's what we're going to do in our session is like what makes people stand out where you go, I got to book this girl. Somebody got to find Michelle. We have to book
Right.
this girl. She's going to be great. And somebody else who maybe speaks on the same topic, who maybe has similar things, you go, pass, pass. We don't need her, you
Amazing.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's such a special topic, and I know a lot of people are going to be excited for it. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about this offer that you have for us. So the secrets on how to get booked to speak. What is inside your resource?
Yeah, so this is a masterclass that I teach. Basically, what happened is after doing that summit, I took pages of notes for myself
Mhm.
on what did I see that really made us choose people and what like wasn't I doing? And a lot of the stuff was I had been pitching myself places, but I didn't, we only know what we know, right? We only know what we create. And so we don't know why we don't get booked. We don't know why somebody passes that over. And so after I'm taking all these pages of notes, I said, okay, I'm going to start tweaking all my stuff based on this.
Mm.
And so I started tweaking how I was pitching.
Mhm.
And then I started getting booked more. And I went, oh,
Mm.
this works. And then I had a friend and she was like, I'm trying to get, booked more. I'm trying to get on stages. I said, well, this is what I've been doing. And then she started doing it. And she's like, I just got my first booking.
Right.
And I went, well, this works. Maybe I should share this with more people.
Yes.
And so I created a class. And so I just walked through all the things all my takeaways
Mhm.
from that experience of what did I learn about how to position myself How do you just fill out that application? And I think it's relevant for every speaker. So you're not gonna, you're not gonna be the go from obscurity to all of a sudden getting booked to a big stage, right? There's a funnel, there's a process there. And so it could be getting a small thing like I want to get booked to speak at my local chamber. I mean, that was a lot of where I started my first speaking was like these local groups, right?
Yeah.
Getting your first TEDx. Maybe you want to get speaked on podcasts. Maybe you want to get booked to speak at a conference, a women's conference, or at a summit. A lot of mine in the beginning was submitting for summits to get booked to speak at
Right.
places so people could hear me and refine your message. And then you can have that clout to say, okay, let me get to a bigger stage and a bigger stage. I was a part of a group of speakers that we used to do like a Clubhouse, and then we
Yeah.
did LinkedIn events and stuff like that to help people get booked to speak. And we would hear this all the time. People would come in and they'd be like, I have this empowering story I want to share. And we would be like, but nobody's going to pay you to hear your story. Like,
Right.
and so when you want to get booked to speak, it's so much more. You have to really think about how are you changing people? People will pay for their transformation, not
Mhm.
for your story,
Right. And I
you
think
know?
those sophisticated event organizers like look for that too when you're pitching them, right? So
Yeah.
they're gonna look to see like, are you just gonna stand up and do like your sob story, or are you here to like uplift people and really change their
Yeah.
lives? So, they want to create an experience for their audience. So they're looking for the same things as like the transformation you're sharing.
That can be really hard. Like, how do you describe transformation? Like, I know people are going to leave and they're going to feel amazing, but how, why, what? Like, that can be a challenge to communicate. How are people going to be changed? What are their legit takeaways that they can do? And when you're getting booked to speak, that's what they're paying for.
Exactly.
So you got to get really clear on if I'm investing, if a company's going to invest money in you, they want a return on that investment. It can't just be that they got
Right.
their employees got inspired for an hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your path to getting on stages, getting booked. And I know that you're going to have so much more for us live at the summit as well. I encourage
Yeah.
everyone to join us and register down below. Thank you so much.
And I'm excited. I think if you're called to speak, it's because you're meant to change people's lives.
Yes.
And so if I can support you in crafting your message and pitching yourself in a way that you can change lives, that's what we're here for. So I'm
Absolutely.
excited for people to be there.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for that last strong message. So we'll see you all there. Thank you.